The Gun Shop Show, the Gun Shop Show. What is it? We don't know. The Gun Shop Show, the Gun Shop Show. Here we go, it's the Gun Shop Show.
All right, welcome. This is the Gun Shop Show. I'm your host, Eli Bruton, and alongside me, my right-hand man to my left is Trevor in the homemade control room.
Hello, everybody.
And then my right-hand man to my right is Logan. Logan. All right. How do you guys like that little Logan intro?
I thought that it was absolutely excellent.
I'm sure it was great on the radio, but it's even better if you're watching the video stream because you get to see Logan in all his glory.
He's the modern day Fabio.
If this is your first time joining the Gun Shop Show, what this is a radio show of all things gun and gun shop related and comes to you from the sales floor of the best gun shop in the world, Liberty Tree Guns. And today we're going to be talking about the Ruger-57 and whether or not we should do a torture test on it. And we'll talk about what are torture tests, what are the torture tests we've done in the past, and should we already know we're going to do it. I don't know why I'm asking that. But
Yeah. Right. We're just trying to build suspense, man. That's all.
Should we torture the Ruger-57? And if we do, how should we do it? But also in the show coming up, we have Machine Gun Mike coming back.
He's coming
and
back.
He's bringing some machine guns for our inventory. And just to be clear, these are full auto machine guns that you can buy and own legally. And I don't know what he's bringing. I just know one of them is belt-fed.
Oh.
Yeah. Belt-fed machine gun.
It eats belts?
It is a belt-fed, full-auto machine gun. So we'll have that on the show today. Also, some big news for the show.
Ooh, that's a lot of bigs.
That is huge.
2 bits of very big news.
Okay.
One of them is that starting on July 4th, we'll have not one, but how many hours of the Gun Shop Show?
2.
2 hours on the radio on our wonderful host station, News Talk KZRG. That's 102.9 FM and 12:30 AM.
Wait a second. You say 12:30 a.m.?
Yeah. There's also on AM radio.
Oh.
Yeah,
I was thinking
dial.
in the morning.
No.
It's pretty early.
Man.
Nobody that I know listens to AM radio, but you can get it on the AM. Okay, so that's one bit of news, but another big.
How big?
Very big. Huge.
Like 3.
Huge. A huge bit of news is the Gun Shop Show is coming to television. So if you're listening on the radio, just to let you know that you can always watch the video of the show. And you do that by going to Facebook, go to Liberty Tree Guns page, and you can see the shop. You can see me as I talk. You can see Trevor whenever he talks. And the Logan thing, you need to see the intro for Logan.
You're going to want to see that.
Yeah, you're going to
want to watch that.
You're going to want to check that out. And then behind me, we always have some firearms on the wall. You can always get on there and watch the feed, but starting soon,
very soon,
you're going to be able to catch the Gun Shop Show on local TV, on ABC, KODE number 12. And so we sure appreciate them. We appreciate our friends over at Zimmer Radio and News Talk KZRG. They approached us about doing this show, and we're so thankful that we've done. It's a ton of fun. Love having you here. So I got to ask a couple things. One is share the feed. So if you're watching on the live stream, click share because you can share that. We can reach that many more people, which helps keep the show going. Let me also tell you about some freebies you can get. If you're interested in representing Liberty Tree Guns, you can get a free hat. And this time we're doing the one with our logo.
Oh, yeah.
How do you get a free hat, Logan?
To get a free hat, they're going to be on the website at libertytreeguns.com. You can go to the merch tab at the top of the page.
It says
Click
Liberty
that.
Tree merch.
Liberty Tree merch. You're going to click that, add a hat to your cart, select your shipping option. I think we're doing like $3 for shipping.
Yeah, it's really cheap for the hats. That just covers our cost if you're not local. Now, if you're local, you still need to do a website order, but you can click in-store pickup, come by and grab that. So
Yes, sir.
Super simple.
we appreciate that. Get that there. And we also have to let you know about a great new opportunity for us to keep bringing you the show, and that is our new flagship sponsor, U.S. Law Shield. It's a legal defense for your self-defense. So it is a prepaid legal program, which members get a ton of benefits. There's a lot of perks on top of the meat and potatoes of what they do, which is represent you if you are in the unfortunate circumstances of having to use your gun in self-defense. So there's a lot of things that go into the program. They can answer your legal questions, but the main thing is they can represent you.
Right, so you kind of have a lawyer on retainer, so to speak?
You absolutely do. And we're going to hear from a U.S. Law Shield attorney today, and they are going to help us check the voicemail, which is something that we do on every show. We'll be doing that today. So special thanks to U.S. Law Shield. We wouldn't be able to make the show possible without sponsorship, and they have taken on the role of our flagship sponsor. So special thank you to them. Now, let's get into this gun that we got to shoot this week, the Ruger-57. I don't know about you guys, but I had a good time shooting it.
I had a really good time shooting it, and I was afraid to say this at the time, Eli, because I'm a total noob and stuff. But it reminded me of shooting like the 22, the Ruger SR22 a little bit.
It's so little recoil, but yet you're not dealing with a little bitty cartridge like a 22 long rifle. You're dealing with a very lethal and impressive cartridge in the 5.7 by 28 millimeter. And the impressive thing about this is you have 20 round mags in a pistol with a cartridge that is highly lethal, totally appropriate for self-defense. And one of the things I didn't know is this cartridge is actually developed as a replacement to 9mm for NATO. And it was the German delegation. And in fact, I'll just read you the info they have.
That
on
would be
this.
excellent.
Yeah, that way it can sound
I'm interested
official.
to know what the deal is. Why wouldn't they? I guess the 5.56 was too big.
Well, so they needed a pistol caliber, and I'll explain what it is. The FN 5.7 by 28 is a small caliber, high velocity, smokeless powder, rebated rim, bottleneck cartridge designed for handgun and personal defense weapon uses and manufactured by FN Herstal. It is similar in length to the 22 Magnum, and to some degree is also similar to the 22 Hornet or the 22K Hornet. Unlike many new cartridges, it has no parent case, meaning it wasn't developed from another cartridge.
Not a derivative.
Right. The complete package was developed from scratch by FN. The 5.7 by 28 was developed in conjunction with the FN P90, and the P90 is that very futuristic looking basically submachine gun, and the FN 5.7 pistol. In response to NATO requests for a replacement for the 9x19 Parabellum cartridge. In 2002 and 2003, NATO conducted a series of several tests with the intention of standardizing the PDW cartridge as a replacement for the 9mm. Tests compared the relative merits of the 5.27 and the 4.6 by 30mm cartridge, which was an H&K competitor to the 5.7. The NATO group recommended the 5.7 by 28 cartridge, citing superior performance in testing. But the German delegation objected, and the standardization process was indefinitely halted. So what are the implications of that? generally, the NATO calibers are what the U.S. military adopts. And,
Right.
NATO being a coalition of militaries that are basically automatic allies.
Right. Yeah.
They are going to use standard munitions so that if there's a conflict, they can be shared amongst each other. Those platforms are interchangeable. So even if the weapon systems are different, they're going to use these standardized calibers, and that's a collective agreement that is made.
Yeah.
Now, what does that matter? Because that has obvious spillover into the civilian market.
Yep.
Whatever the military is going to be using, the cost of that manufacturing is less because the scale with which they can make bulk ammo. That's why 223 is so popular, because if you are former military and you used an M4, then you're going to be familiar with an AR. You're going to like that cartridge. You're going to know how to use it. At the same time, that extra brass that's produced for the military is going to be available once fired or available brand new, because those factories that are tooled up to make enough for the whole U.S. military are going to be able to produce it the cheapest of anybody. So it becomes the popular thing. Now, this cartridge, according to some of those tests, was proven to have merit, to be considered to replace 9mm. And I think for me, the biggest obvious benefit is the capacity. 20 rounds of this 5.7 by 28 millimeter is a lot. And we're going to be talking about this gun, whether or not we should beat it up and be mean to it on the Gun Shop Show. Hey everybody, Eli here, and I'm really excited to tell you that the Gun Shop Show is now brought to you by one of my favorite places on earth, located here in my hometown of Carthage, on the beautiful historic square, and that is the Emporium on the square and the Woodshed. It's a art gallery, an event center, a gift shop. They have art classes, and probably my favorite part is the burger and steak joint in the back. But when you walk in, you're in this 150-year-old great big building, and there's very unique Americana artwork from famous artists like Andy Thomas. They handle a lot of his originals and do framing for him. And it just has this incredible old school vibe, and you can feel the history coming through. You have to check out the art gallery, but then as you work your way to the back into my favorite part, that's the Woodshed. I've spent a lot of nights and had a lot of great meals in here. They've got burgers. They have catfish. I love their catfish. Excellent. Chicken and waffles even. It's incredible. And it's also a music venue. So this year or last year, we got to see my favorite band of all time, the Ben Miller Band. This is a photo that you're seeing that I took. And the ceiling was literally raining down. They were rocking so hard. But the best thing about it is not only is this my favorite place on earth, but it's owned by one of my favorite people on earth. That's Cherry Babcock, and she is the real deal. She takes care of her customers while they're hosting an event or catering or having a special art class or just their normal business of selling burgers and steaks. Check out the Emporium on the Square and the Woodshed.
Kids are curious by nature. Do your part to prevent unwanted tragedy from striking in your home by doing these simple tasks. Consider gun locks and/or gun safes for storage of firearms. Don't leave your guns unattended where children could reach them. Discuss with your children the rules of firearm safety. Sign your kids up for hunter safety classes. Firearm safety in the household is your responsibility. Do your part to prevent unwanted tragedy from striking in your home. For more information, visit JasperCountySheriff.org.
All right, we're back on the Gun Shop Show, and we're talking the Ruger-57, and should we torture test it? What do you guys think? Should we torture test it?
I think we should.
I think we should, too.
I want to torture test it.
Of course we're going to torture test it. That was never really in debate, but I had to pose the question. So
You're a showman.
this thing is awesome because it's 20 very lethal rounds of 5.7 by 28.
Lipstick rounds.
Yeah. So let's talk about what torture tests are and the ones we've done in the past. We have some torture test review videos where we have millions of views between Facebook and YouTube. And what a torture test is, for viewers that haven't seen one, is we take a gun and put it through rigorous testing, even beyond what would almost ever happen in the real world. But we do it to see is the point of the design. So, do you have any of those queued up? And we can probably just roll those. So, yeah, the Ruger American is probably one of our most popular ones. We took another Ruger pistol, a lot like this 5.7, froze it in a solid block of ice. And so go ahead and roll that clip. So we threw it against the backdrop, we threw it in the mud. And one of the things we do is just put it through all its paces. We fire Full Metal Jacket, we fire different hollow points to see that they all perform well. Go ahead and switch to the other one. Let's do Glock 43 next. I know the radio listener can't see that, but imagine literally a pistol encapsulated in a chunk of ice. We put the gun in water, froze it, busted it out, picked it up, racked the slide, and fired it. And that Ruger performed remarkably well. We'll put the link to that video in there. It's several minutes long. It's an overall review of the features of that gun and how it survived. But we also put it through some unusual tests, like we did the Glock 43.
When you froze it in ice, Eli, how long did you have to wait to thaw that out, or did you have some warm water that you dipped that in?
We didn't thaw it. We slammed it on the ground and chunked the ice off.
Oh, so you went
of it.
straight from ice to firing, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can see it in the video. We're holding up. It was like a cake pan, 4 inches or so thick thing of ice, and we just took it and slammed it on the ground, and we had to break chunks of ice off of it and then pull back on the slide. And I thought that would surely be the breaking point.
Yeah, I would think you'd have ice like down in the barrel and stuff.
It chunked out of there. And
wow.
You can see it right in the video where pieces of ice fall out of it, and it keeps rolling, which was so impressive.
That is impressive.
But we like to do it in style, and so we added a little bit of flair on some of these that we've done. And I won't give you spoilers of all the things we did to them. You'll have to go watch the videos. But let's do the Glock 43 real quick. I forgot we had that little teaser in there. Back that up again so they can see it from the beginning. So these videos were made pre-Trevor, so the production value is not as good. You see Baron taking a bite of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. We later went on
Before we get started, I just wanted to say this is a factory Glock. There's about 100 rounds through it. The only thing we've done is applied force-field weapons conditioner to it. Okay,
go ahead and cut that one. But what we did was our disclaimer's on the screen there. It says, we don't recommend you do these things to your pistol. So we don't recommend you buy a pistol, throw it in a mud puddle. We don't recommend that you do what we went on to do, which is make a finely crafted PB&J.
Right. Did you? And it looked like Baron torture tested that PB&J too.
He did. He made a second one and ate it.
He's like, how does it hold up to teeth?
So we put the jelly on one slice, the peanut butter on the other, which is the right way to do it. You don't want to contaminate your knife. No. And then we put the gun in the middle, and then carefully, and then we're trained professionals.
Very carefully, I'm sure.
We smushed through the bread, and we fired the gun, and believe it or not, with caked in peanut butter and jelly and bread, that Glock 43 fired all the rounds from the magazine.
Oh, I bet I'd almost be willing to bet that they fired even faster from the grease. The lube of the peanut butter.
I don't know.
Did you smell the peanut butter burning though? Did it smell like PB&J?
No, it smelled like a toasted You could smell the toast smell. It was really
Nice.
interesting. Cool. So most of the tests are fairly like legitimate. What we set that one up is, in our corny way, we were like,
Right.
and imagine you're making a sandwich and whoops,
My gun fell into my sandwich.
but I need to use my gun now. And
You're like, somebody's breaking in. You're like, go get my gun out of my sandwich.
yeah, so we set that nonsense up. Obviously, we don't think that particular instance is
Right.
a realistic scenario, but we do that part for entertainment value. But the overall torture test serves a real function in letting you see what will this gun hold up to. So what we want to know from you, the listener, let us know in the comments right now, and also join our Facebook group.
We got a Facebook group?
You know we got a
What?
Facebook group.
We got a Facebook
And just
group?
so you know, this is the sort of insider thing that you get to hear is as soon as I got the information that we were going to be on TV, that's the first place I went with it.
That's where you first dropped it.
Yeah, I told my wife, and then I put it in the Gun Shop Show Facebook group and let them know that kind of news. So we do that. We had a suggestion today, a guest suggestion. It was really good. And
Which we should do, by the way.
yeah, we're gonna do. We're gonna take your show advice, and that's one of the things that we want to remind you is this show is for your benefit. So let us know how should we make our torture test video, and of course we'll come back on the Gun Shop Show, coming to you every week at 9 a.m. You can catch the live stream on facebook.com/LibertyTreeGuns, or if you're on the go, you're working, your hands are full, you can get the podcast.
Yeah, which I listened to it solely,
It's
and I enjoyed it every bit as much as
Yeah, and you don't have to
making
look
it,
at us.
making it, and seeing everybody's beautiful faces and watching it.
Yeah. So you can get the podcast on all the major podcast players, which is what?
Everyone.
All of them.
Spotify.
Apple,
Apple.
Google,
Trevor's podcast network. The whole
Podbean.
shebang.
Podbean, TuneIn, iHeartRadio.
In your mind, listeners, think of a podcast provider.
Okay,
We're
so
on that one.
I want to remind you that coming up we have Machine Gun Mike. He's bringing in, I don't know exactly what, but it's belt fed.
Probably.
Belt fed.
I'm imagining it's not small if it takes belts worth of ammo.
Right.
So that'll be a lot of fun. We also want to remind you that you can support the show and get a free Liberty Tree Guns hat. All you got to do is go to libertytreeguns.com and get your merch. We'll also be checking the voicemail, and we'll hear from an expert on some of the laws regarding concealed carry. Let's, you know what? I was going to talk about Elmer Fudd, but I think we need to save that for a little later on in the show. But
Okay.
spoiler, something has happened to Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam, and we just can't stand for it.
No, we can't.
So that's coming up. What happened to Elmer Fudd on the Gun Shop Show? It would be one thing to just tell you about our deal of the week, the 12 Survivors Pocket Water Filter, but it would be even better just to show you. We came down to the Spring River bottom where the water is famously bad, and Trevor is gonna get me some water. Let's get in there.
Yeah, let's get some dirtiness in there. Nice and dirty. Oh yeah. Look at all that gross.
Let's get some out of this puddle. Scrape it in there nice and deep like. Scoop it.
Oh yeah, look at all that nasty mud. You think it'll taste like chocolate? Artifacts.
All right. Our deal of the week, the 12 Survivors Pocket Water Filter. Filters out Salmonella, Giardia, pretty much every bad kind of bacteria and makes water completely safe to drink. I've got the little pre-filter on there, so here we go. So good. Actually, it's not bad. Like, it just tastes like regular water. That's really impressive. The 12 Survivors Pocket Water Filter is the deal of the week from Liberty Tree Guns. Getting it supports the Gun Shop Show. You can get it on libertytreeguns.com. Has some really cool features, and it makes even the nastiest water safe to drink. There's a pre-filter that really is just designed to get the sediment out. If the water's cleaner than this, you don't need the pre-filter, but it's also threaded. So that'll thread right onto a normal water bottle or soda bottle. So if you're in a survival situation, you could scoop out the water into a water bottle, thread this on top, carry it with you, and make it safe to drink. Or carry them separately, thread it on just when you need to drink. So get it, libertytreeguns.com. Welcome back to the Gun Shop Show. I'm Eli Bruton, your host and owner of Liberty Tree Guns. This is the only show that I know of that is broadcast from the sales floor of a operating gun shop. And I know what that sound means.
I know what that sound means.
It means we have some voicemails we need to check.
I think so.
I'll get my voicemail phone.
We got 2 rings out of that, too.
That must mean it's extra full.
Oh, it's really, yeah. It's ready to go. And this Eli's typical getting the phone out situation here. There you go. All right.
You got the new the intro to the checking the voicemail done this week, right?
Yeah, I got plenty of practice in.
No, I mean you made one that we can just use in the show. We don't have to do it live.
No, bro, this is gonna have to be live every time. I don't got time, man. You keep me.
Okay.
So much work.
It's all right. So
much work to
do. We've been working on an official intro to checking the voicemail. We don't have it ready yet, so
no, we're just
gonna
on the
have to
fly
wing it.
every time. And
so I'll get out my guitar here.
Yeah,
ZZ Top Gun. And last time I broke a string, just riffing. I mean, I'm just tearing it up.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you're gonna end up having to get dentures. You keep grinding your teeth like that.
Hey, and make sure that you just get the camera on you and me, okay?
Okay, yeah, it's going to be you and me. I've got the camera over here where my drum set is.
We've been rocking pretty hard. I don't want this to get missed.
Yeah.
Okay,
are you ready? I'm ready.
Okay.
All right, here we go. A 3, a 2, a 1, a go.
Are you ready to check the voicemail?
Woo!
That was...
Oh, man.
I broke another string. Another string.
Dude, I'm going to have to start wearing my sweat bandanas.
Yeah.
That is too much juice.
Yeah, that's a little much.
Oh, man.
But glad we got the intro done.
Yeah.
Just winged it another time.
It was excellent.
And I know that the cameras were working this time, so everyone got to see that.
Yeah, I got to see it.
And if they could let us know in the comments when the string broke, that would be great. So, all right, let's get to it. Let's check the voicemail.
Hey, Eli. This is Guy in Carthage. And my question has to do with concealed carry and a valid ID. The question came up that, say, for example, you have a concealed carry permit and you have a Missouri driver's license. If that license should expire, can you still carry concealed? And does the valid ID apply to concealed carry without a permit, since Missouri is a concealed carry state? So basically cover the need for ID to carry, or if it's even necessary, and what is considered valid ID. Thank you.
All right, that was Guy, and Guy is one of our regulars. He's a great customer. I know exactly who that is, and his question pertains to not your permit card itself, but supplemental government-issued ID and whether or not that's necessary for carrying. And so, as you know on the show, I'm constantly saying I'm not an attorney. But thankfully now we have our flagship sponsor, U.S. Law Shield, and we are able to bring to you an actual expert, an actual attorney, to give you the legal breakdown on this question. So, Trevor, do we have John from U.S. Law Shield on the line?
Yes, we do. Are you ready?
Yeah. Bring him over, yeah.
There you go.
Hey, John, welcome on the Gun Shop Show.
Hey, thank you. Happy to be here.
So you are one of a team of attorneys that help members of U.S. Law Shield, both for representation if they should be involved in an incident, and also to answer questions, legal questions.
That's correct. Yeah, and we get a lot of questions from our members like this, wondering, what are their rights and how should they correctly understand those?
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We sure appreciate having a great program like U.S. Law Shield as a sponsor, and I am relieved to not have to say, this is my non-expert advice. I'm glad to have a true expert like yourself on the show. So the customer's question was, do they have to have a government-issued ID on them in order to be carrying legally under their permit? And how does that affect them and the legality of their permit itself?
Sure, it's a good question. As far as concealed carry permits are concerned, in the Missouri Revised Statutes, if you go to section 571.101, that's the section that's going to pertain to your permit questions. Specifically here, the question, do you have to have a state-issued ID or a driver's license with you alongside your CCW? The answer to that is no, you don't. They're two separate IDs. You could, for instance, be a non-driver who has a CCW, and that would not be an issue. So that leads into the second question, if the ID is expired. Again, if your driver's license is expired, if your state ID is expired, as long as your CCW is not expired, you're still going to be okay with your CCW.
And, actually, this question may have been, to some degree, my fault. I know that Guy and his family have taken my concealed carry training, and we were always told, this ID doesn't have your photo, so carry a photo ID with you. And so my advice to students was always have a photo ID with you when you're carrying. And the way it was presented to me is that's the best practice. It turns out that maybe that's not required. That's not going to undermine you if you're carrying, as far as whether or not you're justified or whether or not you could be subjected to some kind of criminal charge for just carrying. So that's great news. But we might want to point out that it's still a good idea to have photo ID to verify your permit against.
That's true, and I'd agree with you. I think you're giving good advice. If I was going to give advice, I'd give the same advice, that it's a best practice to have a photo ID with you. If there's ever a circumstance where that CCW would be checked, it may speed up the process if you have your photo ID with you, and it is a best practice.
Well, thank you so much. John, I'm going to let you go. I know you're a busy man taking care of U.S. Law Shield and all of the things that go into that. Just want to let you know we appreciate you, and I'm sure this is not the last time we'll be hearing from you and your expert advice.
Yeah, happy to help out.
Thank you. We'll talk to you later. All right, so in addition to John, and we thank John for taking the time out of his day to give us the official answer, and that, just to recap, is that you can carry without worrying about whether or not you have a photo ID on your person and or whether or not you really have one at all. Now, there's a second part of that. It is when you go to apply for your permit to begin with, they do want you to prove your identity. So when you go down to the sheriff's office after you've taken, for example, our Missouri concealed carry training, you got your completion certificate, when you take that down to the sheriff's office, they're going to want to know who you are. And so some form of government-issued ID is required for that initial permit. But I called them yesterday and I said, hey, if someone were to come in to get their permit and their license was expired, how would you handle that? And this is Jasper County's answer, so it may be different from county to county within Missouri. But he said especially right now during the COVID situation, probably would be no issue. He said if your address is not current, we would have you get like a utility bill to prove which county you reside in at exactly which address. Or if it's way expired, they might ask you to go ahead and get that renewed, but they're giving some extra leniency right now because of that. So it turns out that your photo ID is not required. And again, this is something I need to update with my students because I had pretty much been telling them, you need to have it on you. That was what was told to me, and now I'm realizing that was probably best practice. That's the best idea, but it is a relief to know you're not going to be subjected to any criminal charges if you're carrying out there, and maybe you don't carry your photo ID, you just have your concealed carry permit on you. You'd be totally covered with all of the extra protection you have under the law. So that's great to know, and sure appreciate hearing that from the experts. The Gun Shop Show costs money to make, and the Gun Shop Show is brought to you by pecans and cheese. Not really. Actually, we didn't have any sponsors for this segment, and so I decided that I would take a snack break, and also I decided if you guys are tired of listening to me eat cheese and nuts, that you need to buy an ad. So from now on, if our ad sponsorships don't sell out, you're going to have to listen to me eat nuts and cheese. In order to sponsor the Gun Shop Show, send us an email at thegunshopshow@gmail.com.
Next week, chips.
This just in. Huge cave found beneath the heart of the city. Spelunkers shared tales of an underground cavern system in Carthage, Missouri. Locals report the entrance to be at 10th and Garrison.
Gang Pizza. Stop in and enjoy wings, wood-fire pizza made with local ingredients, and our full bar. Bring the whole gang and uncover legend.
Hey man, we got to do this About Anywhere porta potty commercial.
I kind of have my hands full.
I didn't want to bother you, but we really got to get it done.
You know this is where I go to do my special project. I'm almost done. Hang on. I'm done. The Gun Shop Show is brought to you by About Anywhere Porta Potties.
They'll take you anywhere.
You can take a
beep
anywhere. We are back on the Gun Shop Show, and as you know, we have our proprietary technology where we access the voicemail.
Those things are not cheap, Eli.
No, I mean, it involves a little bit of science.
Yeah, a little bit.
Of technology, and a little bit of magic.
Oh, yeah.
Magic.
Yeah, probably more magic than... You're a humble man, and you don't like to talk about all the magic that you have, but pretty magical.
This voicemail phone allows us to just port into our voicemail system right here. I can check it live on the air. Works really well, and that's what we were doing before the break. And I think it's time to continue checking the voicemail.
Hello, this is Vladimir from Mother Russia calling once again to inform you that we love Ruger. Ruger just sounds good. Also, you cannot torture Ruger. Ruger tortures you.
What? Ruger tortures you.
You know, Vladimir has called several times.
He has. I will say this: his accent has gotten much better.
And someone asked me the other day. They said, "All right, be honest. Who's Vladimir?"
Right.
And I'm being completely honest. As God is my witness, we did not do that. There is someone that's really calling in that is Vladimir.
Right. I've heard word on the street, Eli. It's Nicolas Cage. He's mad about your impression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So apparently, you accused us of having sounding like a sales pitch for Ruger.
Right.
Turns out the Russians are fans as well.
Right.
It says you can't torture Ruger.
But he did say Ruger tortures you. So what does that mean?
I don't know. But
Let's get Ruger on the phone. Call Ruger on the voicemail phone. Let's talk Ruger.
I guess we'll find out. But you know what? I'm looking in the preview right here, and I'm seeing this beautiful bean footage.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking, I want to see that more in the show.
You want to see some more
so
of this bean footage?
If I'm talking, and we can actually fade over.
Yeah.
And it would look like that. So this is a live view of Liberty Tree Guns, and for the radio listener, what you're seeing when you are like the cool kids and you join the live stream at Facebook, you get to see a little bit of behind the scenes, and we're working on incorporating more and more of that, and we're going to be on television as well, so you're going to get those visual cues. But this is all some shots happening in the store at Liberty Tree Guns, and you're seeing revolvers and spinning cases of firearms. It's just nice. It's nice to not always have to look at our faces.
Yeah, but whenever you get to the point you want to see faces, here's one you can look at.
Oh, and let's just, when you come to Logan, you should always come back with
the hotness.
Yeah, can you do it?
Logan. Oh, you're going to be on the front of so many novels, Logan.
Guys, there's something has happened.
What's happened?
Elmer Fudd.
What about him?
Oh, no.
Did he quit his job?
Oh, no. Is he retiring?
No.
Is he walking away, washing his hands of the whole thing?
No, but I don't know how he's going to do his job.
Did he get the COVID?
I don't know how he's going to do his job hunting wabbits.
Yeah. You talking about the wascally ones?
Yeah. They took away his gun.
They took away his gun?
He's no longer going to have a gun.
He's gunless?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
How can you hunt without a gun?
That's what I want to see. People are upset about this. What's your take on this? Have you heard about this?
And honestly, no, I didn't hear about it. Other than you bringing it up to me, I hadn't actually heard about it myself.
You know what I thought was interesting is, obviously the creators of the cartoon chose to not have him have a gun, but people they're making it seem like someone forcibly took.
Right. They just quit drawing the gun.
Here is a headline out of a Houston news station.
Houston.
That is on this story. Elmer Fudd and Yosemite Sam, which I don't know how you're going to have Yosemite Sam, because his whole thing is the pew, 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 pew. Yeah, like that was his deal.
Yeah. That was his deal.
They're looking at me across the store. See me go, pew, 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 pew. Pew, pew, pew. How's that related to anything? But because, again, this show is coming to you from Liberty Tree Guns, and so our staff is here, and we've got hustle and bustle going on. Mm-hmm. But let me read from you this headline. The cartoons will still have plenty of sticks of Acme Dynamite and cartoon violence, but Fudd will no longer carry his oversized hunting rifle, and Sam won't have his pistols. Here's a quote. We're not doing guns. Executive producer and showrunner Peter Braungart said in an interview with the New York Times. But we can still do cartoony violence. TNT, the Acme stuff, all that was kind of grandfathered in.
That's so silly, though.
Yeah.
I'm not usually outraged by things like that, but I do think it's silly though. Like, gun bad, dynamite good.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
like
jump off a cliff.
A single shot. A single shot 12 gauge shotgun is too evil for kids to see. But they're
Right.
like, but if you got a pile of dynamite
Or a sledgehammer.
and you can just, you can, like you said, drop someone off a cliff or
Right.
blow them up with dynamite. He said, oh, that's good. We're good to go on that. Don't worry. You're still going to get plenty of cartoony violence.
I want to reach out to the folks at Warner Brothers and say that the next thing they should get rid of is the drawing of the tunnel on rocks.
Right. That's just cruel.
It's dangerous.
Someone could run into that, guys.
So I was wondering what would happen if, how are they going to make a scene for Elmer Fudd? Because isn't he primarily hunting wabbits?
Well, that's
he's
how that all
always hunting
started. But
wabbits.
I mean, I have seen, and it's been a long time, but I have seen some Yosemite Sam stuff where it wasn't like him going crazy with the guns, but just his psychotic breaks were entertaining. So I'm sure they'll just continue that whole thing.
Yeah, well, I think before we get out of here, we should say, how would other famous characters be if you took their guns away?
Yes.
So I don't know how much time we have left in this segment, but before the end of the show, and if you're listening on the radio and we get to the end of the radio segment, which is ending at the end of this first hour, make sure you jump over on the live stream because we got more going on. Or if you can't do it right now, if you're out on the road, you're driving your car, get the podcast or get on the live stream or the YouTube channel, for example, and watch that later on. So we'll talk about that by the end of the show. We'll talk about what would happen if other famous characters for the that we associate with having a gun. How would they do that? But how would Elmer Fudd hunt wabbits?
Yeah, bow and arrow maybe.
How's that any better?
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's better at all. I would just
Traps,
say
maybe?
if you have to choose, like bow and arrow's a one way.
Civil court.
Yeah, I mean it's not like Bugs is innocent.
Yeah,
I'm on Elmer's side, Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, maybe he serves him papers.
Yeah,
and they
restraining order.
They sort it all out in a court of law.
He's like, "What's up, Doc? You're breaking the 25-meter rule, whatever." I don't know what restraining orders are. But I was thinking John Wick would be a very boring. Comes to mind. What is not the Enforcer, but help me out here, Logan. You know what it is. It had Denzel Washington in it. Equalizer. Yeah.
Because he has guns. Those are the
That's like his
equalizer.
whole shtick. Is he's like,
Really?
a phenom with firearms.
Or the Expendables would be terrible without guns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another one. I was thinking rap music would really suffer if guns. There's a rapper named Tech-9. Take
Yeah.
away his gun.
And he's
Who
just
is he?
He's just
9.
Welcome to the stage. All right.
Underscore. That'll be his rap name. Instead of guns, he'll use other
It's
things.
just a blank space.
Could you imagine every gun reference in rap music is just nothing?
Just yeah.
Not even rap music. I guess I should say gangsta rap music.
Yeah. What's the song that you actually learned it? The song "Big Iron on His Hip."
That's Big Iron, isn't it?
Yeah, it's called "Big Iron."
Yeah.
But imagine if it just had to go
With a on
his
it. It would be
hip.
just big with a big on his hip. With a big on his hip.
Yeah, because you can't say guns. Okay.
Right.
So I've got a list of some other instances that I feel like we need to cover. One is Scarface.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Say hello to. Yeah, it would be no little
okay.
friend.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Because we're going to come back. We're going to go down this, but I'm going to cover the list before we
Okay.
go to break.
All right.
Scarface. How would that be with no guns? Tombstone. How would that be with no guns? Dirty Harry. I mean, he would just be. I mean, we think Dirty Harry. That's a character, but
Right.
he would just be Harry.
He would just be dirty in a different way.
just dirty. He
Just dirty
He
jokes.
just has to make dirty jokes
Right.
because he doesn't have a gun. He's just hairy. He's just grungy Harry.
He's hairy and tells dirty jokes.
Yeah,
I'd watch it.
yeah.
Of course.
I don't
We
know.
you would, Logan.
I think that would alter the course of history, and we're seeing it happen. If you can take Elmer Fudd's gun, there's going to be a remake, Dirty Harry, with no revolver.
He just uses hands and wrists.
All right, stay tuned because we're going to remake Dirty Harry with no revolver. We're going to remake Scarface, and we're going to remake Tombstone on the Gun Shop Show. Hey, podcast listeners and live stream viewers. I wanted to let you know that the Gun Shop Show is made possible by our friends at Mid-America RV. Being in the customer service industry, I have a really high standard for how customers are treated. Mid-America RV does it right. I've got my RV through their dealership, and I've taken it all over the country. We made it to South Padre Island. We've gone to Colorado several times. And if you've ever owned an RV, you know there's a lot that comes with it. So who you get it from matters. And it's extremely important that you have support after the sale. And here's some photos of my trips to Colorado that we took in our RV from Mid-America RV. They're located just outside of Carthage. They have a really vast inventory, and they are home of the lifetime RV warranty. So I believe they call it a forever warranty. So I urge you, if you're in the market for one, to check them out. It's a really fun and can be very affordable way to get your trips in. So visit them at midamericarv.com. We appreciate their support of the Gun Shop Show. And as you can see, they have a large inventory selection of trailers and fifth wheels, and they specialize in those. They don't carry any motorhomes or anything like that. So if you are in the market for a tow-behind RV of any size, from a little teardrop to a full-size trailer, I urge you to check out Mid-America RV. Now, we weren't sent any promotional material, so we decided, and this is from genuinely from my personal experience. There's a trip of me in Colorado in my Surveyor that I got from Mid-America RV, and so we decided we would make our own commercial for these guys since we believe in them so much. So, Trevor, I assume that you are prepared with material, right?
I'm going to jingle on the spot.
That you didn't make one ahead of time.
I didn't. No, I didn't.
Right.
And I'm actually a little nervous right now.
Can you put it on the lot?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. Let's hear it.
Let's refresh. And here we go.
They may not appreciate this.
Mid-America RV, the San Francisco treat.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm not so hot at the making up of stuff, so I borrow from other people.
Okay, well, the point is Mid-America RV will treat you right. If you're in the market for a travel trailer or fifth wheel, check out Mid-America RV.
The Gun Shop Show, the Gun Shop Show. What is it? We don't know. The Gun Shop Show, the Gun Shop Show. Here we go, it's the Gun Shop Show.
Welcome back to the Gun Shop Show. As you can see, we were busy during the break bringing some things in, some machine guns, and one of our favorite guests on the show, Machine Gun Mike, is back.
What is up, fellas? So good to be here.
Always love having Midwest Tactical as a business partner and as friends. So thanks for joining us once again on the Gun Shop Show.
Love it, man. You guys got the greatest show, and being around you guys and being here to share about guns is one of my favorite things. Seriously.
Thank you. We appreciate that. We appreciate all the support. And we got to talk about, I would say, elephant in the room.
Yeah, right.
But it's the machine gun in the room. What the heck is this giant thing? And for radio listeners, we have a giant belt-fed machine gun sitting on the broadcast desk, and it is so massive that it dwarfs the rest of the show set, and we look like miniature humans sitting here at the desk.
Little Lego figures.
What is this thing, Mike?
Well, it's not a paperweight. This is a Vickers machine gun. It's a classic British war gun. It's one of the most iconic British guns that you'll ever find. And this is actually a papered, authorized ATF gun. It made its way over from England to the States, and it was put together and registered, and therefore it is a legally ownable by civilians transferable machine gun. This is a beautiful piece of history. You know, I say it all the time. I wish these guns could talk. I wish we could know what it did. I mean, there's stories about these guns that you read in every World War I or World War II history book, and this is a piece of history right here on the desk. It's an awesome gun. Again, iconic British weapon. It would shoot a .303 round. It's obviously a belt fed. This would take teams of British men to run, like 5 or 6 men. This thing weighs about 80 pounds with the tripod, and they would grab it, carry it, plant it. Someone would load the belt-fed ammo. Another person would shoot it, of course, and they would just keep reloading and keep going. And the interesting thing about this is it's a water-cooled gun. So it has a hose to it that links to some water, and it funnels the water through this barrel, through this chamber, which keeps the barrel cool, because as you know, barrels get really hot, and sometimes if they get too hot, they warp, they crack, they break. And so this was a good way to make sure this gun was in battle and could fire a lot of rounds for an extended period of time because of that water cooling system.
And one of the things that you touched on that I want to make sure as we break down how this gun worked and how it fits into history is a lot of times when you see full auto machine guns referenced in the gun world, we feel like we don't feel like it seems like most of the time people feel like those are reserved for class 3 dealers or they're reserved for museums. What's great about this is museum grade machinery, historical machinery, but the biggest thing that we want Liberty Tree Guns customers to know, which are also Midwest Tactical customers, is there is such a thing as a transferable machine gun, which means if you can buy a regular revolver off our display case, and you can pass that background check, you can buy and own a full auto machine gun. And Logan, while Mike talks about this, we've got a new mobile cam we're going to try out, and I want you, as we go around to these features, you were touching on the water cooled nature, which it makes a lot of sense because we shot just the standard handheld, the M16, the Thompson, and with one mag you start to feel some heat coming off that barrel. Yeah. You can't imagine feeding belt after belt through this thing. The water keeps it from literally melting down and failing.
Exactly. And, there are stories, if you read your history on this particular weapon, where there were 15 to 17 of these on the battlefield, and they shot these things reliably for 12 hours straight. And, belt-fed guns are notoriously finicky. They're hard to feed. They jam up.
And so let's just, for both the listener, radio listener, let's pause and describe that. But we're also, if you're watching on the live stream, you're seeing a close-up. What does belt-fed mean? Let's describe that.
Well, belt-fed means you just cannot feed the gun, the bullets into the gun through a magazine. This doesn't have a magazine like you would on your standard M16, AR, AK-47
because
platforms.
You couldn't physically fit one that would feed enough rounds.
Well, right, and that's what this is meant for. This is meant to suppress fire at great rates for extended periods of time. You would have to change mags out all the time. So this is something where you'd have these belts loaded up and you'd feed them in there and fire, and then another belt is ready, and you can go for a very long time. And again, that's why you need to cool that barrel down, because you're throwing a lot of rounds through this.
And the belt is coiled here on the desk, and this is like do you know exactly what material this is? It's like a canvasy type of...
Yeah, nylon canvasy. I say canvasy.
Yeah, well, it actually in some ways reminds you of a belt like you would wear, but it's just rounds are fed, so they're preloaded into slots on this flexible material. It feeds through, and then the design of the gun, the function of the gun is to bring those rounds through basically as fast as its rate of fire, and which would be extremely fast in the case of this machine gun. Do you know the rate of fire off?
I'm not sure the rate of fire on this one, but gosh, I'd say you think this one's pretty slow. Dalton's over here with us from Midwest Tactical, and he shot this baby not that long ago.
So you have more of the chicka, you know, okay. Well,
which is indicative of the older weapons.
And
when
when
they
we
sped up as time went on.
What's funny is when you say slow, it's still faster than a human can squeeze a trigger.
Oh, yeah.
And it's automatic. So once you get ready to rock and roll, you squeeze the trigger on this beast, and it rolls until you run out of belts.
Exactly. So this one would run on a .303 caliber, which is kind of an odd caliber. It's just a little bit bigger than a .30-06, which is still very powerful. But this particular one has now been chambered to run in .308, which is a much easier round to buy, to fire. It's more cost effective and things like that.
I was going to ask because those look like .308 cartridges in there. Yeah, British .303. There's a lot of British infield bolt action rifles. So that caliber was essentially, imagine equivalent to .308 or our .30-06. So it's a 30-ish caliber bullet. Their infield rifles were like the equivalent to our Springfield 1903 rifles, or a Mauser, like German alternative would be a Mauser. And so this was a machine gun that actually fired that. But smartly, someone took this particular instance. We're talking about this transferable receiver and parts kit, and not only turned it functional again, but also decided to make it fire .308 instead.
Exactly.
So it's a more practical, if you're going to take it out and have fun with it, it's more practical because .308 is commonly available and cheaper.
Exactly. And to fire these things, I mean, you just put yourself into, a British infantryman position. It just is surreal when you get to shoot these, and it's so fun. We have people that collect, the Axis side, the Ally side. They collect both. Some of them just will not touch the enemy guns, but they want our Allied guns. It's so interesting, but we've got guys that own every piece from the British military, a classic piece. It's just so cool. They have vaults and stuff in their homes, or they create, I've got a guy that's making a Colt museum because he is such a great Colt collector. He wants to show the world. And as you know, the people that come through Liberty Tree get to see the machine guns that they have here. And it's fascinating because they don't know they can own them, but they're getting to see actual pieces of history that have won wars and made people free, and all those amazing things that these weapons have been involved in.
Yeah, and for listeners that didn't see the second ever episode of the Gun Shop Show, I believe is number 2, correct me if I'm wrong?
That is correct.
We spent the whole episode with Machine Gun Mike, and we went out and we shot machine guns, and we broke down exactly how you can own this, how that transpired with the ATF, and so it's a good one to bounce back to if you didn't catch it. If you
and it is the most viewed show yet, right? Is that?
It has a lot of views on YouTube.
Because that's what I've told my mom, that it is the most viewed
that
episode.
That is true.
Okay,
that's
true. Yeah,
good.
yeah. Just in case Mike's mom is watching, it is the top show.
Excellent. I love
it. Mike, I don't know if you've heard, but the Gun Shop Show is not only getting a second hour on the radio, but we're also coming to television. So things like this machine gun are going to make it in the homes of TV viewers all across the 4-state area, which is super exciting to me.
Awesome.
But people might think, once again, even though we're talking about you can own machine guns, people can literally buy this machine gun.
They can.
And so
it's more expensive. It's a little harder to get into your possession to take it home, more than a standard handgun or rifle. ATF really vets you out big time, so it's super safe. If people are worried that they're just handing these out, they're not. And the people that buy these, the people that own these, are what make this country great. They're hardworking, very savvy-minded, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens, the backbone of what makes the USA great. And they are super responsible. They're super respectful. And NFA crimes crimes with NFA Class 3 machine gun weapons.
Non-existent.
Non-existent. It doesn't happen because the people that buy these are those kind of people that you want to own these because they're super responsible and great people.
And when you hear on the news that something took place with an automatic weapon, it's not. It's a semi-auto.
Exactly.
And so full auto machine guns, transferable ones, the ATF is very particular, and we'll talk about the price and why that ends up that it's those class of folks who typically take these home right here on the Gun Shop Show.
Hey everybody, it's Eli at Liberty Tree Guns here at 530 West Fur Road in Carthage, Missouri, and I want to show you a gun collection that we just bought from an individual. A little bit of everything in this one. We wrote a check for 22 guns. Got some newer lever guns, cool Henry Silver Boy, some older shotguns. This is a cool old 410 double barrel. This was a good mix. There was some newer types, some old stuff here, some black powder, some cool Colt, black powder revolvers, newer Rugers, Mark IIIs, PMR 30, Taurus Judge, couple of Taurus revolvers, got a long slide 1911 right here, and then got this cool Llama 45. We just sold the sister to that gun, 38 Super. This particular individual, this is half the collection that we bought from him. And so I just want to remind you that we pay $1 for entire collection, so we'll buy one gun or 100 from you, and we can offer consignment where we sort of establish what these guns are worth and we pay you out when they sell. Or in the case of this one, we offered consignment, we discussed it, and then we offered a cash price, which was a little bit less than the consignment settlement price, but it's quick. It was one check, and we paid those all out to this individual. And probably the biggest, baddest, coolest one of the whole mix was this Bushmaster BA-50. So we have everything from little antique 22s to 50 cals in this one collection. I want to remind you that you have a chance to buy your collection. Find us at libertytreeguns.com or here on Fur Road in Carthage, Missouri. See you soon.
All right, welcome back on the Gun Shop Show. I'm joined by Machine Gun Mike, a.k.a. Mike Winkle from Midwest Tactical. And, you know, it's hard to believe that this is what I do for a living.
Yep.
You ever feel like that?
Kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
Is how I liken it. It's just, you know, yeah, I pinch myself all the time. It's just, we're a couple of lucky dudes.
Yeah, for sure. I made a post on social media last night. I said, you know, all my teachers growing up saying, you know, you can't just goof off all the time. Eventually you're going to have to do something real. Well, here I am goofing off on the radio, goofing off on TV and Facebook and YouTube, a Gun Shop Show coming to you from the sales floor, Liberty Tree Guns. And we're talking about this Vickers Machine Gun, which is a gun that you can own. Now, we had been, prior to the break, talking about why you never see these guns used in crimes. One, there's just not many of them, which is what makes them so rare and collectible. But also the types of people that are buying these are reverent of the history, they're investors, and because they're so rare, they're not cheap, and it's generally folks that can afford that are the responsible citizens. So let's talk about this gun, how you can purchase it, and how it would be an investment.
Well, this gun, you know, if you took this gun in, let's say, 2010, it's probably gone up in value by at least 50%. And if you look at the stock market, if you look at real estate, other investments, it's hard to get a return on your investment like that because, as you said, these guns are incredibly rare. They're very, very valuable. We tell people sometimes you're buying a $200 piece of metal and a $20,000 piece of paper because that ATF registered piece of paper is what gives this its value. It makes it rare. It makes it collectible. And
it's what makes it legal
exactly
for you to own, because there's a handful of these types of pieces of history that are grandfathered in as legal transferable machine guns. So let's talk about, this is going to be on display at Liberty Tree Guns. So you can come in the store and see this thing, and even if you aren't going to be the kind of guy that is going to take this home, it's worth coming to look at, to see it in person. It's quite impressive. But let's talk about what it would take in terms of doll hairs to take this thing home.
To take this home, and again, this is not a CNR gun, which means a Curios and Relics gun, which means ATF gives it it's a 50-year-old or older designation for a gun, which makes it even more highly collectible. But this is a parts kit that a gentleman named Charles Erb, who was big in the NFA world, put back together, and he registered it with the ATF as a dealer. And so because of that, it's going to be a little less expensive, but this one to take it home is still going to be $18,000. And that's what the current market is bearing. And again, 2010, this thing would have gone for $7,500.
Wow.
$8,000.
That's quite the leap.
What a fantastic investment. And one of the things, obviously I appreciate these things as pieces of history and the rarity, but I love the idea that I can buy this and put it in my safe, and it's going to go up in value because they're not ever making any more. And although there are blips like anything else in terms of value, goes up and down a little bit, the overall trend of the value of machine guns is straight up, historically.
Absolutely.
So you have another one. Did you have something before we move on to the next one?
And what I wanted to say is every year guns get lost. They get sometimes they get confiscated. I think I said on the last show we had a widow who called ATF and said, "I've got all these guns my husband had. I hate them. Get rid of them." And she had a big collection. And they took. So the registry, the number of these classic guns gets lower and lower every single year by attrition, and so they become more valuable.
Yeah, and
more and more valuable.
If they wear out and are unrepairable because the receiver is the thing. Now, that's pretty rare because most of the time they can be rehabbed.
Absolutely.
But in the event that one was damaged or was, in a building that burned, those don't ever come back. They get, destroyed or turned over to ATF, and they become more and more rare. And the ATF, if they're turned into the ATF, they don't put them back in circulation, do they?
They do not. Occasionally, very rarely, we get a call from ATF saying these people have these guns. Yeah, and they have a heart in those moments, and they want to help them financially because they know these are very lucrative pieces, but that is few and far between. ATF wants to control the population of these guns in the United States, and to that effect, they want as many of them gone as possible and off the registry as possible. Yeah. So they'll jump at the chance to remove them, unfortunately. And a lot of pieces of history are gone forever. At least they could be put in a museum, but they don't have a hard time taking these and destroying them, melting them down, cutting them in half. It hurts, but it's the nature of what the ATF wants to see happen on these.
Hey, Mike, I have a question for you. Now, when the ATF destroys them, do they send evidence of destruction?
They do, yep.
They actually send you the pieces so that you know it's destroyed?
Sometimes they do, but it's more photographic evidence than anything.
Okay.
They'll take pictures and they'll show it cut.
Right.
And in fact, if I had this gun and ATF demanded it be destroyed, I could keep it, and you could even use it as a parts kit once it's cut with a torch.
They want the receiver cut in half.
Yes.
So that's the case even with, for example, we had some very inexpensive handguns that had a crack in the frame. They were unrepairable. They financially made no sense to try to repair. And I said, what do I do with this gun? How do I get rid of it? You can't. It either has to stay in your logbook or you can destroy it.
Yep.
And they said, I said, how do I do that? They said, take it, use a chop saw, use a torch, and cut the thing in half down the middle and send us pictures of both halves, and we'll consider it destroyed, and therefore you can mark it destroyed, and you can throw away the components if you choose to, or you can part it out, the remaining parts of it. But
exactly,
it's sad to imagine that a piece of history like this, if the circumstances worked out just so, it could be destroyed, and which would mean literally imagine this thing being sawed in half. But before we move on to this other machine gun, let's point out a few features on here. I assume, correct me if I'm wrong, but the operator would have both hands on those wooden handles.
Correct.
And back in the days of pre-rubber, pre-plastic, the best way to have a grip that you can hold on to that doesn't get quite as hot were those wooden handles.
Absolutely.
And then what does the operator do to actually fire the gun?
Well, this is the trigger.
So for the radio listener, you've got two hands side by side on the wooden handles and the thumb depressed. Your thumb basically would activate that, right?
Correct, yeah. You can see those two pieces.
How worn out does your thumb get?
So you just pull it up for you. And, I mean, like I said, the only break you would get is anytime you leave it. Every time that's down, that bullet, the bolt is releasing a bullet down the barrel.
So it's kind of like it holds it. You know, you push that and it keeps it firing until.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's in this case, you don't have to worry about your trigger finger, but your triggered thumb.
Right.
And you can use two fingers too. It's kind of, you kind of use either your index finger or your middle finger to reach through the handle, the wood handles, and pull that towards you.
Oh, I see.
So it's very comfortable.
So
it's not
like
hard
this.
at all.
You reach in and pull backwards. I get it.
Correct.
Hey, let's show where the water hooks up on this, and we'll continue breaking it down on the gun shop. The Ruger Security 9 LTO, an exclusive new firearm only for guns. It's an affordable that comes with Ruger renowned reliability and workmanship, and comes with an optic with a 3-year warranty. If you haven't ever shot a pistol with an optic on it, it's a lot of fun, and you can really acquire a target quickly. All right, Ruger Security 9 LTO unboxed. So pretty much everything the Ruger Security 9 would already come. And this is how they look in the box. Ruger started in this insert, which is kind of nice. We've had to modify it a little to make sure that your fits. So cut out so the cover can go on and can fit right here in that. They come with 2 mags, so point guns just getting, but you get 2 15 round mags, a couple little boxes. The optic comes with the AR, so if you want this optic off and run it on, you've got everything that you need. That's free, just comes in the box. So we pull this insert out. Here's where all the goodies that come with the optic. 3-year warranty, fire field optic. The user manual. It has tools for both mounting the optic if you want to take it off, and also the adjustment screwdriver for the windage and all of it, and then all of the factory information for your pistol. So this format that they come in, and guys, remember this. You are excited to try out an optic on a pistol, and you want to do it for a price. These at this price are cheap, and some guys are paying for just an optic. You're getting the gun, the optic. You can get the price at libertytreeguns.com. Search LTO. Welcome back to the Gun Shop Show. We're talking machine guns with Machine Gun Mike.
Hello.
And we've got this Vickers British machine gun, and we were talking about features. You reach through the handles, you pull back to fire it. But you mentioned earlier that this thing was water-cooled, so let's bring in Dalton from Midwest Tactical and have him point out some of these things as we go along. Also, it occurred to me, we're talking about you wish these things could talk.
Oh, yeah.
And then we wish we could tell all the stories that these things have been through. But, it wouldn't be accurate in our Midwestern redneck
it doesn't
vernacular.
feel right.
So I was thinking it'd be better if you could do it in a British accent.
Channel your inner Brit.
Wow, that is tough. And being around this gun, it just makes it,
Touch it and see
it's
if it
like it's like when you touch it, it just makes you really go to the bloody places where this gun might have been, and it's like whenever this gun was fired. Do you want me to keep this up for real?
That was enough.
That's enough.
But
Okay,
it was very well done, and I noticed that you struggled until you became one with the machine gun.
It was like a stroking, and it really brought that out of me. I loved it.
That was very good. Thank you.
But Dalton's going to show you where the hose hooks up.
Yeah, it's water cooled.
Right there, and it's going to pump water through there. Obviously, the water stays in there without being rotated. It's going to boil. It's going to be hot itself. So there's an overflow chamber on the other side of the gun. And again, this would take 5 to 7 men to operate, and that water cooling is a big part of it, because if they lose their barrel, they're stuck.
I had a quick question. Now, you guys fired this, right?
We did.
And do you have the original hose for this thing?
We do back at the shop.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
What sort of source would that water? Was it a tank or?
It's just like a tank. Absolutely.
You fill it up and you use gravity. Is it so it sets up higher and then that flows water in?
Basically, there's different kinds of applications, but now you don't really see any water cooled stuff. This used to be. This would even be mounted on airplanes back in the day too. So this has all kinds of applications. But yeah, you would just get the water in there, and it usually would just draw itself up, and then again it overflows. So the guys would keep that thing loaded and keep the water pumping through it, because once the water stops, it's not going to last long.
Right.
At all.
Yeah, it's going to fail, because just like a car engine or something that depends on that to stay at its proper operating temperature, it'll fail if not. But this big behemoth is not the only machine gun that you brought with us today.
Correct. We brought a gun on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yes, you absolutely did. And Trevor, if we can, let's go back to camera number 1 so I can show this. Mike, as I hold this up, let's tell the listener and keep it audio friendly. What am I holding in my hands right here?
This is a classic M11 380 caliber machine gun. This is one of the best weapons that you can get today to kind of get your foot in the door. If money is more of an issue for you, an M11 or an M10 submachine gun is a great place to start. These are great weapons. It's very lightweight. It feels like you're holding a pistol. But these are great weapons. They were made. You could have walked into a hardware store prior to 1986, and you could have taken one of these home.
And it has that kind of clunky looking, boxy looking design like people imagine with Uzis, and the street sweeper sort of look to it. But this one is in 380, which is interesting.
Yep. They came in 380 and 9mm, and these guns we call them spray and pray guns because they're so hard to control. The rate of fire is so fast on these things, and they're so small that it's hard to keep them down. It's hard to aim them. And so there are different kind of really cool accessories that have been made over the last 10 years to make these more tactical and make the rate of fire slow down. They're different uppers because, again, the receiver is the registered part of this gun, and that's the bottom part. That's the part that connects with the trigger and the grip. But the top part can come off. You can replace that with anything, much like an AR-15. The receiver is the registered part, but you can change the stock. You can change the upper. And so you can have these slow rate fire uppers put in there. You could change them to a 22 caliber. You could take your 380 and make it into a 9mm. There's so many things you can do with these, and they've made them so relevant that you'll even see these really hard to control guns in sub-gun competitions all over the country now.
Because they have done things to make them a little more practical and a little more shooter friendly.
They even have a 5.56 upper.
Really?
For these guns now. And we've shot it at the shop. Lage Manufacturing makes one. It's just been out for the last couple of years, and it feels so good. We were shocked to shoot it because it feels like you're shooting an actual AR-15. So these guns, not only are they less expensive than your average Class 3 NFA item, but there's so much you can do with them that make them incredibly fun and relevant today.
Yeah, and just so for the audio listener, on the desk is this giant Vickers belt-fed machine gun we're talking about. Weighs 80 pounds. Does that include the tripod? Or?
Yep, tripod's going to be about 50, and then the gun itself is about 30.
And so quite a hefty thing. And then on the other end of the spectrum, in my hands, is something that is just pistol size. I can easily hold it in one hand and hold it up to the camera here. And so if you think about buying a machine gun, you might think more something like this. What pops into your mind? A great big machine gun on a tripod. But this is full auto, just like that, but it fits in the palm of your hand. And this is also going to be on display here at Liberty Tree Guns. And let's talk about, we talked about the price of the Vickers. Now let's talk about the price of the M11.
Well, this M11 is kind of special because it's an experimental model. As you can probably imagine, anytime a manufacturer was creating a gun, it went through I don't know how many stages of prototypes till they got it perfect. This is one of the stages of a prototype of an M11, so it's extremely rare. It even has an X to start the serial number because it's basically a prototype gun. Anytime you see that.
We find that a lot is generally once a manufacturer is comfortable with this is the production, they start a sequence of serial numbers, and that'll give you an indication of a lot of times what year it was made in, what order, if it's number 300 of 600 of that model that were made. Internally, those companies use that to keep track, and then for collectors, that tells me, hey, this was one of the first ones made, or this was, one of only 60, or whatever the example is. So what you're highlighting here is this one wasn't even in the main production. This was something they took, they developed, they made it. At some point, it still got sold, but this was not in widespread production. So it brings a premium from a collector's aspect.
Absolutely. It's rare. There's not another prototype like it. And it fully functions. In fact, the only thing that really makes this gun unique is the rear sights. You can see the rabbit ears on the sides. It's an adjustable sight. And it just was a little burdensome because you could not put the collapsible stock up on top of it, and it wouldn't rest.
So this would normally lever up and it can't because it hits those.
It hits that. And so they lowered that in the final version. But a typical M11 380 would be about $6,500, and then you go up about $1,000 to $1,500 more for a standard 9mm. But because of the rare nature of this one, and I've got a book called the Mac Man. It's about Gordon Ingram and the invention and development of the M10, which is typically a 45 caliber version of this. It's much more bulky, and the M11, which again is standard 9mm or 380. And this gun actually appears in the best M11 history book on the market. It's on page 173 and 174. It talks about this exact gun that's on your desk. It's super cool. Again, historical in a history book, and yet we have it. We can touch it. You can shoot it.
I didn't even realize when you came in and you said this is in the book, I thought you meant just this model exists in this book. What you meant was this instance of this gun is so special that it was printed in the history of the development of this model of firearm.
Correct.
That's incredible. And so we're going to have this on display here at Liberty Tree Guns. And I think if I remember correctly, you're going to allow us to hang on to this book so that we'll have it in the display case to
Absolutely.
highlight this incredible piece of history and this awesome example of a full auto machine gun. Remind us where folks can go if they want to learn a little bit more about Midwest Tactical.
Well, you can go to our website at www.atfmachinegun.com. You'll hear about the company's history. You'll see our inventory. You'll see what we have to sell. We even have bios on the guns and all kinds of different pieces of information. And one of the reasons we do this and come on the show and love working with you guys is we just want to educate people. I said on the other show that people will come up to me and ask what I do. I say I sell machine guns to civilians, and they'll tell me that I don't do that. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But people just don't know. It's not a fault of theirs necessarily.
Yeah,
this just isn't widespread information.
We had a caller on the show that said, can you please get on the air and explain that individual citizens cannot own machine guns? Please get on there and tell them.
Was that Joe Biden who called?
No. Did you see him at the campaign rally and his wife's talking and she has her hand out, she's like gesturing, and he reaches up and puts her fingers in his mouth?
That is weird.
Off-putting.
It's so off, and it wasn't. Like, I don't know if he was trying to be like come across as if he was
playful.
It was
hungry.
So disturbing. It's like
you can't unsee that.
You can't, and it's not even a little bit presidential.
No,
hard to believe.
It is. Hey, Mike, I had a question for you about these guns.
You bet.
The historical element of this, is there any organization, does Midwest Tactical take any interest in trying to change laws that affect these guns and allow any of them that are still out there hidden to become legal again?
We really don't. We do, encourage organizations that do that and support them. But we try to champion the Second Amendment and things like that through our website, through educational means, and we do financially support a lot of those. But we don't actively do that ourselves. I mean, I don't even know when we'd have time to do that.
Yeah, that's one of the things about owning a business is you're busy running a business.
But we support those that do all the time.
Gun Owners of America, the NRA, those that are out there lobbying for individual gun ownership.
It's huge.
We support them. We have those days where those organizations can come down and interface with our customers, and I'm sure that Midwest Tactical is kind of the same way. But if it were to become, an issue that was tangible, like if we thought we had hope of saying, hey, let's grandfather in a next batch of guns, then we would want to do that. But I would say, if anything, we've got a battle going the other way. The odds of getting more of these in individuals' hands are going to be tough, because we're going to be lucky if we can keep guns of many types in the hands of citizens, in my opinion.
And that's why you got to keep watching the Gun Shop Show all the time and listening, because they're going to give you the good information, the right information. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of informational sources out there that you can get this kind of great knowledge. So you guys do such a great job keeping your fingers on the pulse of what's going on out there to keep gun lovers like me, in the know, which is so important these days now more than ever.
We want to be that source of information, and we also try to stay approachable, stay fun, and
tons of fun.
We've had a lot of fun on the show today. We're out of time for this segment, but I want to thank you. Machine Gun Mike, you're always welcome right
Love
here.
being here.
And this has been the Gun Shop Show. Guys, if you're anything like me, you would never buy a new vehicle, which means you need to find a good used vehicle, which is exactly what I did, and I found it at High Profile Power Sports. Jason over at High Profile helped me find my new beloved Bacon LT. And I was going to show off my Chevy Bacon LT, but I have a bird that has it out for me, and really ruined my ability to show off the Bacon LT that I got from High Profile. Again, I got my Bacon LT from High Profile. And again, a bird ruined my chance to show you because my truck is in a condition that I would be utterly embarrassed to put in an advertisement. So I would for sure never show my Bacon LT that I got from High Profile Sports covered in bird crap.
Never?
Never. Ugh. Again, if you're in the market for something like a Bacon LT, go to High Profile, get your Bacon LT from High Profile, go to hppowersports.com. All right, welcome back to the Gun Shop Show, and I dropped a bomb on Logan right before we came back from break and said, hey, turn on that mobile cam, and he looked at me like,
we have a mobile cam?
Yeah, we just used it. This is the ordeal. All right, so we've had a great time on the Gun Shop Show, as we do every week. We want to remind you that it's so important for you to share the show for us to be successful. So please share the stream. Join the Gun Shop Show Facebook group. We'll put it in the comments right now.
That's right. Or you can look it up real easily. Gun Shop Show.
Just type in the Gun Shop Show, and it's a group. It's not a page, so you can make your own posts.
Mm-hmm.
We had a member say, hey, here's some guys from a magazine that I follow. You should reach out to them.
Oh, yeah. I saw that.
It's a super good suggestion, and we're going to do it. We're going to pursue it. So
excellent.
If you know someone that should be on the show or something you want to see us cover, please do that.
Yeah, we want your feedback. We want you to contribute to the show and enjoy it along with us.
Yeah, and also you can be a part of the show by sponsoring the show. If you would like to highlight your business, if you're like-minded and you support the Second Amendment and gun ownership, you can sponsor the show and get exposure for your business. Just send an email to info@gunshopshow.com, and we'll reach out to you with advertising opportunities. And we do some interesting, fun things with our ads, so we'll be happy to do that with you. So earlier in the show, we were talking about Elmer Fudd.
We were.
Yosemite Sam.
Yeah.
And how are they going to be their characters without their guns?
Yeah.
And
it's going to be tough.
Yeah. I don't get it.
They're really going to have to struggle to earn that paycheck now.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. It's going to be interesting. Elmer Fudd, we may see him in the unemployment line.
Oh, well, you know what, Yikes. Eli? The smart move would be to go ahead and hire him on.
Get him on.
Yep, get him on payroll.
Get him a gun back. Mm-hmm. Get him back in business doing it for us.
Right.
Yeah, reach out to Elmer Fudd.
Okay.
See if we can get him on the show.
Yep, I'll get that.
See if we can get him to be a correspondent. But what that prompted me to say is I imagined Elmer Fudd trying to hunt wabbits with no rifle, no shotgun. I thought, how would that change media as we know it? How would, like you gave the example of John Wick, how would that have gone without a gun?
In my mind, I'm thinking same movie, right? All they do is they just scrub the guns from it. still entertaining? You think it's still go?
Well, if they could reshoot it where he has the Force.
like Star Wars version? Are you referencing Star Wars, Eli?
Yeah, I think so. Well,
it's happening.
I think that's from that's what it is, right? Like in
that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, so like I'm imagining he leans out from cover,
right, and someone's like,
yeah, right. But I thought, what other iconic movies? Let's recreate them. Let's imagine they do a remake. So they've remade Elmer Fudd,
right,
with no gun. Mm-hmm. So let's remake.
Well, he ain't hunting.
How do you know?
I mean, I guess you can hunt with your bare hands. Maybe he's caveman Elmer Fudd. You don't know how. He could be ninja.
Yeah. So I was thinking we should recreate scenes from famous movies.
Okay.
And how would they go?
Okay.
So Scarface, you immediately jump to what I would say is the most iconic line from that movie. In fact, I don't know if I've ever seen the movie.
You haven't seen Scarface?
I don't think so, but I even know that reference.
Yeah, I did too. But I mean, I went through there was a period. I was a dark period, but but I watched a lot of those movies. What's the other one? Logan doesn't know. Serpico. A lot of Pacino movies.
Yeah, so Al Pacino in Scarface famously goes, what? You started to do it. Can you do the line?
Say hello to my little friend.
Yeah, and he's got a machine gun. So if they remade that movie, do you think he would just say hello?
No, he probably would still say to my little friend. He just wouldn't be holding that gun, right?
No, why would he?
Something else.
He would just have to leave it blank. He just says, say hello.
Say hello. Well, it would just underscore the fact that he's done a lot of drugs in that movie. They're like, oh, it's typical Scarface out here yelling stuff.
Yeah, and so another classic. Dirty Harry.
Right.
Which we said maybe he's Dirty Harry for another reason.
Yeah, he's just the creepy neighbor.
That would be another good nickname for Joe Biden.
Dirty Harry.
He's Dirty Harry for different reasons. So we imagine that you redo Dirty Harry. He doesn't have his revolver. So what are some of the famous lines from Dirty Harry?
I honestly don't know, Eli. I mean, I know the whole "Are you feeling lucky punk?"
Yeah,
but I don't know if that's from that movie or not.
No, it is. But one of the interesting things is, have you seen how there's a thing on the internet where people think there's a Sinbad movie that exists that isn't real?
What? You talking about Sinbad the comedian?
Yeah. So there's this thing where people think Sinbad was in a movie called Shazam, and where he was a genie.
Yeah, it wasn't Sinbad.
And people will bet money that they've seen the movie of him, and it's like it never was a thing.
That's crazy.
So a lot of people think that he says punk in a bunch of different points where he doesn't really say punk in the movie. So do you feel lucky, punk? I don't remember which one of them exactly is real, but he does say, I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 5 rounds or 6?
Right.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you feel lucky? And another one is, go ahead.
Make my day.
Make my day. But I thought if you take the gun away and you take away the drama of, it's considered offensive for me I would point a real gun, but directly at the camera or just use my finger. But imagine the movie if instead of, go ahead, make my day, it would change it because he wouldn't have the threat of force.
Right.
So it would just be, go ahead. Which changes the whole outcome of the movie. He just tells him to go ahead.
Don't you think that he could still say, make my day?
No.
Why?
Because he can't.
I think he could.
I think they're just going to scrap at that point.
I think he
just
says, go ahead.
What if he's like,
no, but
go ahead.
It's better.
Make my day.
What if he was... what if it was a request? He was like, go ahead. make my day. And the guy's like, you look good today. He's like, thank you. Like, that's what he wanted.
See, yeah, I could see that, but I was just imagining it alters.
It's a movie of positivity.
It alters the course of the movie. So
Right.
the guy's like, a bad guy, and he's just like, go ahead. Because he doesn't have a gun.
Right. He's getting ready to lay some bad news on. He's actually getting ready to get diagnosed with something terrible.
Go ahead.
Right. He's at the doctor's.
What other movies? Let us know in the comments. What other movies would be forever changed if they took guns out? I bet there's a great list, and our listeners will let us know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what about 250 John Wayne films?
Oh, man.
We did an entire episode to do that. Would take down an episode.
Yeah, so go back and watch episode number...
The Guns of John Wayne.
The Guns of John Wayne.
I think it was 9, but I'll be sure.
The Guns of John Wayne. So you just search the Gun Shop Show, The Guns of John Wayne. We did a whole episode on that. But again... when he in True Grit, he famously says, "Fill your hands, you." But instead, he would just say, "Good thing your hands are empty." We didn't do Tombstone.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, there's a.
Wait, what are you saying?
Stoomtone.
What's that?
It's an old inside joke that I probably shouldn't even said. Stoomtone.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah.
No, I know. Sorry, guys.
Slide over.
We'll get after this show's over. I'll fill you in. Then we can laugh about it next time.
There's a great line in Tombstone. Are you familiar with the movie?
I think I've seen it. You talking? I'm thinking Wyatt Earp, but Wyatt Earp was the character that Val Kilmer played, right?
No, Doc Holliday.
He played Doc Holliday.
Yep. Yeah.
Then it was Stephen Russell, something like that.
No,
I don't remember who played who.
So Val Kilmer
Russell
comes out of the saloon, and he's confronting the other character,
right?
And he's got a drink in one hand and a pistol in the other, and he says, I'm going to take care of you, whatever. And the guy said, "You're drunk. You're probably seeing double right now." And he pulls a knife out, and then he goes, "I got 2 guns. One for each of you," which is a great line.
It's great. Yeah.
But imagine it if he's like, "Doesn't even matter because I don't have any guns."
He's like, "I got 2.
One for each of you."
He's like, "I'll slap both you guys."
I just imagine. I don't know why, but the phrase "don't bring a knife to a gunfight" came into mind.
Yeah, don't bring nothing to a gunfight either.
That's
don't bring a nothing to a gunfight.
Right.
That's what Elmer Fudd did. But imagine this: instead of every scene where someone gets shot, it's a slap.
Oh, that reminds me of something Logan told me. The slap.
Wait, have you seen?
I watched it.
We should play it.
It's just a guy going around
it's
gratuitously
awesome.
slapping people, like everybody, grandma,
We should
grandpa.
play it. Let's just play it.
Do you think we can?
I don't know.
We don't approve of this.
Well, what we'll do?
I think
It's
was
part 3, isn't it?
I think it's part 2. It was initially like an actual movie, I think, called The Slap, and then I think someone made a parody of it called Slap 2 or
The
Slap
slap parody.
Slap Part 2. You know what I'm talking about?
Okay. I saw promotions for this, and doesn't is it something about a grown man slaps someone else's kid or something? Or,
Yeah. Oh yeah. He goes around slapping everybody, dude.
No. Okay.
No, there's
there's a real movie.
A real movie, and then someone decided to parody it.
Okay, so
And
I think I
that's
know what you're talking about.
Slap Part 2.
So there's a real movie, and it's a drama, and it's not supposed to be funny. It's just imagining this guy's life changing from.
Are you seeing it go on?
Yeah, I see it in the preview. So this is fantastic. So there's a movie called The Slap where a guy in a moment of poor judgment slap. I think he slaps a kid, right?
Yeah, he does.
Probably.
And then all the drama that ensues from one slap.
Right.
Which is a little bit of a stupid premise for
Yeah.
a movie. But this clip, someone took it to the next level. I think it's pretty funny. Let's play it.
I'm gonna keep the audio off. Just lining them up. What are you doing, man? Hey, man. What? How's it going? What's
I
going
think it's
on
funny
here?
that they keep trying to look at
Like he walks over to people who aren't even like coming at him. The poor children just slapping everybody. She's like, I'm talking.
This is how action movies.
The police without guns.
Yeah, see, this is what happens when you take the guns away.
Gosh, taking him over with slap the bird out of the tree. Oh, man.
Warzone.
Slap part 2. That's how I imagine John Wick would be if you replaced his guns with slaps.
Right? That'd be excellent.
You know, people are noticing.
People are noticing?
People are noticing
They're
what's
noticing.
behind me.
Oh, you talking about them guns?
Yeah.
Those ammo cans?
And you may have noticed that there was a gun coming and going
Yeah.
during the
Right.
show.
Mm-hmm.
So we're filming.
That's true. We are
And
filming.
right at an ad break, Rob comes up
Mm-hmm.
and is like, hey, I got a customer interested in one of the guns on the rack. And comes up and takes it and shows it to the customer. So it's just a reminder that we are an operating business here at Liberty Tree
Living,
Guns.
breathing business.
And we won't let anything, including the production of a ridiculous show, stop us from serving our customers.
That's right.
I think it's time that we talk a little bit about Liberty Tree Guns.
Finally, episode 12.
This is going to happen?
You know, this is a show by Liberty Tree Guns, at Liberty Tree Guns.
Right.
And we talk about almost everything but Liberty Tree Guns.
That's right.
So, just to get to know us, we are a firearms retailer who covers pretty much most categories in firearms, from handguns to shotguns, rifles, accessories. But we also specialize in selling used guns. And we do that a number of ways. We take trades. And Logan is no stranger to the amount of trades that we take. When you started here, some of your primary responsibilities were getting those trades ready to be sold, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how many of those do you feel like you did during that time?
Man, there was times when there was 10 to 20 new ones per day that
Yeah.
I had to get filmed, photographs, descriptions, make sure everything was good with them, make sure that they had any maintenance issues, I would fix that. But, man, there was a ton.
Yeah, and that is something that you don't see here on the show all the time. We
Right.
are one of the highest volume used gun dealers in the country, and inventory cycles really quick because we have bargains. And it's just like that gun that sold, I don't know if he sold it for sure, but he came and got it twice, you know, to show the gun that's literally right here on the show, because there's always customers in the store. But I just want to remind you that you can take advantage of those deals and the unique used inventory that we get in by going to libertytreeguns.com. So if you're hearing this and you're in another state or another side of the world and you want to check out what we do, you can go to libertytreeguns.com and you can check out that used inventory, and you can even put them on layaway.
On layaway.
And we also have financing available.
We do.
So you can go fill out the financing app and take a gun home and make payments instead of having to come up with all the money.
True.
Sorry.
True. True.
I don't want to tell you why there was a lull right there.
Okay.
I had a burp coming.
It's okay. You didn't want to tell us?
Yeah.
You didn't want to tell us, but you told us.
I tried to lean away. I'm like, no worries. The guys will see me physically leaving the microphone, and they'll have my back.
I had your back. I came in and said true.
True.
One word. That's all I needed.
Oh, man. It was a silent moment, you know. You're really underscoring all the points that you just made.
Yeah.
I thought that that's what you were doing. You're trying to build some intensity. And so then I was like, oh, I'll have his back. I'll come in.
But it's just a
and
burp.
Make it. I'll put an exclamation mark on it with the word true. And I did. And then you came back, and now we're having this conversation.
And we're up to speed. So we always invite you over here to Liberty Tree Guns. You can come visit us in Carthage on Fur Road and check out all this inventory in person and take advantage of some of the programs that I just mentioned. Another good one is our consignment program.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the places that we get used guns is from consignment. And what that means is you bring in your gun that you want to sell, and this is the way that you can get the very most money for your gun. So if you sell it to us outright, which is something that we also do, we'll make you a cash offer. We're absorbing all the risk of the sale, and so we're going to offer you a little bit less, essentially like a wholesale price. Now, it's still the majority of your gun. We're not offering you pennies on the dollar. We're offering you, a percentage of what it will sell for on the shelf. But if you don't like the idea of that, you can, of taking less for your gun, you can do consignment, which allows you to help set the price. So you can tell us what you'd like to sell it for. Now, granted, we don't allow you to sell it for more than a new gun. So if you have a used, let's say you have a used Glock 19, we're not going to let you price it higher than a brand new one.
Yeah.
But, if you have a rare collectible and you think that it might bring a certain amount, we'll let you steer that decision. Then we bring it in, and then here's where the value comes in. All those tasks that Logan was talking about, where if you're going to sell the gun on your own, you're either limited to the people you know, and then in that instance, you may not know if that person can legally buy. You're going to have a hard time reaching an audience. Facebook won't allow you to post guns for sale as an individual. So you're limited in your resources. What we do is we bring it in. We take really good high-definition photos. We write a description. So we're taking that element off your plate. And then we also handle all the customer interactions. So all of the ones that you might have to respond to, questions that don't result in sales, we take that burden off of you. And then once we find a buyer, which oftentimes they sell quickly in store or they sell online, we also have a feature where if it's a customer would like to make an offer on your gun, we don't just take that without your permission. We have a mechanism where we reach out to you. So say you have a gun, it's a $1,200 gun, and you've had it in here, it's been here a week, 2 weeks, and a customer offers $1,100, we'll reach out to you and say, hey, how do you feel about $1,100 as an offer? If you accept it, then we could sell it, and we just charge an 18% fee and a $10 flat fee per gun to do that. So you're going to take home the very most amount for your firearm using the consignment program. And it's a good time to do that. If you've got something, pretty much any category of firearm right now that you might want to sell, to liquidate, so that you can put it into something else, consignment or trades or cash offers, now's the time, as we want all the inventory that we can get. So that's a little quick reminder of what we do here at Liberty Tree Guns. We're proud of what we do. We're so proud of our customer base. I go around the 4-state area and I see people sporting their Liberty Tree Guns shirts. I see cars driving by in our whole 4-state area with Liberty Tree Guns stickers on their back glass. And that's not the case because we do a bad job, I think. People believe in our company because we strive to do the right thing for the customer. That's what we've built our company on. That's how we started as a very small little store in a fraction of this space, and we tore down walls and expanded until we are what you see today. So appreciate you joining us. This has been a fun episode of the Gunshot Show. I had a little bit of everything. One of the things I want to remind you is we are going to be torturing the Ruger-57, but we want to know from you, how do we do it? So drop that in the comments or go to the Facebook group and do that. And it's always a pleasure. Find us on the radio on News Talk KZRG 102.9 FM, or follow us here on Facebook, facebook.com/Liberty Tree Guns. It's a pleasure. Support the Second Amendment. The Gun Shop Show.